Hey guys, thanks for joining me and welcome to my channel. I'm excited to be here today to do this very special reading. As you guys know, this is the Pick a Card channel. My name is Varouche and I have another channel here on YouTube. You can check it out through the link down below, or it's youtube.com/Varouche. Anyway, for this channel, I typically do pick a card readings, but today I'm just going to do a soulmate twin flame reading because I just feel I've been called to do these readings, and I feel like they might go on the other channel, which is called Love Energy Update. But for now, I'm going to just put it here. Probably too much information, but anyway, so for now, we're just going to have them here. Let me know how you like them, as opposed to the other pick a card videos that I have, okay? So we're doing a little test session. So we're going to find out what their feelings are towards you, whether it's your soulmate or your twin flame, regardless of gender. So make sure if you see a lot of like knights or kings come up, and if your soulmate or twin flame is a female, then please switch the signs and the gender to the gender that you are attracted to, okay? So, or that you have a connection with. So this is either someone you know already or what's going on with that soulmate energy. You probably have someone in mind already. So let's just do this. Okay, so first card right off the bat is the Two of Hearts, which is the Two of Cups, right? So there's some kind of significant connection there. You definitely feel a certain type of way towards each other. Let's see what else. We have the Five of Hearts next. So there was a certain degree of disappointment because something was not met. A desire was not met. I feel as though the connection was made almost instantly, but then it's been playing out as though there are barriers to connect. There have been many barriers that have in some way stopped romance from flourishing, and I feel as though one or both people have even been quite offended by the way it's played out. They feel betrayed, or they feel as though they're left out in the cold, even though they feel the way they do, and they hope you do as well. The next message is and you could be the person feeling this as well. The next message is the Divine Order, the Equilibrium card, or the card of Libra. So there's a balancing energy that's going to come in order to bring about a better outcome. You have to be patient and not react to the disappointments that have been coming up in this relationship. Then we have the Four of Trees. I feel as though the lesson is to not retract. There was an immediate retraction based on something, and it was based on nerves or anxiety, nervousness. Many people who have twin flame soulmate connection, they sometimes miss out on that connection really quick because they in some way kind of pull back and they get nervous. So a lot of these kinds of things just come and go, and then they come into separation. So I feel like there's going to be a balance that's being achieved. However, I think that somebody is already putting in a certain degree of stops on the situation, or they're kind of digging their heels in and not opening up. The next message is the Eight of Hearts. So in this situation, this codependency, the Eight of Hearts, disappointment. Sticking around in a situation where someone is not reciprocating emotionally. There was an emotional connection at first. There was an insult to, no one was insulting anybody else, but just the way that things played out, there was an insult between people. So one person was insulted by the interaction or whatever, and then there was a balance that was achieved. However, I feel like that person that felt the most slighted by the rejection of the situation, they in some way have pulled away, and the person who did the insulting or was the cause of the slight, or was the person who kind of did something that offended the other person, that person is sort of left out holding on to something in which this is a very vindictive situation, and I don't think that person's vindictive. It's just something that people find themselves in. So the removal of affection, of love, or attraction. Well, it is love. So the removal of these things is the way in which the other person's ego is feeling self-satisfied. Like, oh, they turned me away and now they're feeling this. So they feel empowered by the interaction, they feel empowered by the situation. So whatever it is, and it's something that if they think a little bit deeper, they're going to regret feeling that way. You know, they're going to regret the fact that they used an opportunity in which balance was being restored to like lock down even more, and it has to do with their own learning. It has to do with their own personal evolution. Here is the next message. We have the 10 of Hearts, loyalty, and so loyalty and trust, which is the 10 of Pentacles in other decks. This is Virgo, Mercury. So I feel like both people come from a same sense of what loyalty is. Both people want the same things around themselves, home and family. Here is the next message. We have the 9 of Angels, which is Mars in Gemini. So that disappointment, it sent that spiral, them thinking in a spiral to the darkest place. So it's like they misunderstood something, there was a miscommunication, or someone rejected because they were shy or afraid, and that got misinterpreted, which really triggered the other person to think about other circumstances in which they were rejected in. So it took them to the darkest place. It took them like mentally to a very dark place, and they started reacting based on that, and that's not necessarily a good situation. Then we have the 10 of Angels, which is Sun in Gemini. So we're still in Sun in Gemini here. This is going to be the center card of the reading. So I feel like in some way somebody was going by an idea. Somebody was going via an idea and inspired by an idea into the situation, and that idea has become broken, and they can no longer stand by the idea that they had before. But the nice thing about it is that the idea that they had was fictitious. In this card, in the 5 of Cups, typically there's 2 cups left standing, right? So this idea was very fictitious, and now they have an opportunity to see the other person, in the other situation in their true likeness, in their true likeness. And so they have an opportunity if they just open up and receive the energy. So they, in some way, here with the 10 of Angels, the 10 of Swords, the idea, the false notion of who this person was, when you see someone maybe for a while, or even immediately, you assume certain things about them. This person had this assumption about this other person, and like that really got busted, like who they were, what they were about. And there's such a greater depth because the connection was genuine. The connection is genuine, right? So it's just up to that person. It really feels like the masculine here is offended and is on principle, not, hunking down, protecting his ego, protecting his emotions, and through that making it sort of worse, even though the situation sort of leveled out. But once something like this happens, the ball is in their court, right? So they really need to make some decisions. We have the Knight of Stars. This is a man who's trying to leave, This is a man who's trying to leave very, very quickly, who's denouncing their feelings and their ideas, and in some way they're denouncing their feelings and ideas, and then in some way they are kind of saying, I don't really care. How many times have you broken up with a boyfriend and he's like, he gets really cold, and then later when you talk to them, they're like, oh yeah, well, I actually did care, I just didn't want to call it out for what it is, so I became cold. That's how men oftentimes deal with their emotions, because socially we suppress men's emotions from learning how to deal with their emotions effectively. So each gender has issues to do with, whatever affect or whatever circumstances, we both get socialized into these categories that are actually really repressive. So for men, one of the main things that I hear across the board from men and women is like they never get taught from an early age to deal with their emotions. The reason I'm stressing this is I don't feel like it's a bad guy. I don't feel, if you're dealing with a guy, I don't feel like he's a bad guy, or I just feel like this feels like something that many of us have experienced when breaking up with someone. Here is the next message, the Ace of Pentacles. So something new comes up for them, some kind of new physical opportunity. That could be someone else, but I feel like maybe they're caught by something new and interesting, like maybe they're physically attracted towards you again. That physical attraction heightens, because no matter how much you muck around with it, when you have this love connection between yourself and someone else, it's very, very hard to break. So even though bad things happen between people, or like offenses happen, it has to be quite a significant push for that to break down, right? So even though it's looking so far like this relationship's gone through the muck and mire because somebody's ego was offended, right? That's still there's still that underpinning, and no matter how much they're showing you shade or how much they're being cold and standoffish, remember that this is in their heart too, and you matter to them just as much as they matter to you. So if you're asking about someone with whom you've been on the rocks with, this is truly a situation where this person needs you equally to what you need them, but they're just playing that kind of cross your arms and look up at the sky game. Here is the last row, and this is kind of where things are going / what we can do about them. So there's a reunion. I really strongly want to call upon whoever's watching to like open up your heart and be very generous and not afraid to show love to that person. So keep on showing here. This is what I'm doing with my hand. So show love to that person, and in some way like reinforce their trust that it's safe and that they're welcome. That doesn't mean that you take on, like if you're a woman, it doesn't mean that you all of a sudden take on all the initiatory roles, because across the board we know that really disadvantages women's place in a relationship. It can be very problematic, so use that with caution. But in terms of welcoming that person and being really be unafraid in dealing with this person. Tell them with your heart, with your mind, if you can't talk to them, if they're ghosting you or if they're not in communication with you, speak with them with your heart chakra or with your mind, with your third eye, and say like to them, like, I'm welcoming you, I'm welcoming you. Just have a meditation on that and welcome in that reunion. Here is the next message. We have the Page of Trees. A Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn. This and this are very similar cards. This is the Ace of Trees, Ace of Pentacles, and the Page of Trees, the Dreamer. So I feel like there's a real, like, okay, mentally it's not working, but which direction can we take things on the physical level? So there's this, there's a breakdown in the mental interaction between people, but on the emotional, it's really deep. The next message is the Seven of Angels, the Seven of Swords. I feel as though somebody's trying to get away from the truth because they want to push through anyway. They're trying to get away from the truth. And I feel like they're trying to sugarcoat their disappointment. So if the other person you're dealing with is in some way really sugarcoating, let's not talk about it, let's move on from this, I think that that's something that is ill-advised in this situation. I feel like just as much as you don't want to push this person into a relationship, you just want to welcome them in, come and connect with me, let them contact you first, all those things. Also, on the other front, you don't want to in some way say, yeah, don't worry about it, because it's going to come up. This little bump in the road, this initial issue, was actually indicative of a bigger problem in this relationship. And if you don't talk about it, if you don't reason it out together, then I feel like it's going to grow. So safe, welcome space, right? welcome in the new physical connection. So that could involve intimacy with this person if you feel inclined or safe to do so. And then the third message is to like recognize that someone's trying to be avoidant, because I feel like if this is a man you're dealing with, his feelings are so deep, and they're so, some men are very alienated or isolated from their feelings, like I earlier said. And so they may have this massive defensive strategy, like not crying in public, you know. So they're going to have some ways in which to cover it up to avoid the feelings, so that they're not forced to confront that thing that they've never been taught to properly face. So I think that in some way someone's being avoidant, and I think that that, again, in a safe and welcoming manner, should be confronted, and there should definitely be open space to talk about the disappointment, so that you can really get the crux of the issue and really get connected, so you can have that massive connection that you're feeling right from the beginning. So you can just say, I do like you. There is no rejection here. That was a miscommunication. Say it like you mean it, and say it from truth, you know, say it from what it was for you, that situation, you know, like, oh, I was having a bad day. I didn't tell you, but my friend, you know, just had told me something, and I was just out of my place. So don't make yourself awkward by saying too much, but in a fair and just manner, like when it's safe to do so. Bring that person back in to talk about what happened, so that there's no questions about what the intention of the situation is. You know, we're talking about twin flame soulmate connection, so just reel them back in, welcoming. They want to be reeled back in, but they have all these doubts in their mind. The next message is the Lovers. This is the card of Gemini. So this guy's leaving, but he wants to stay. I feel like, whether you're dealing with a man or a woman, that person wants to leave quickly, very quickly, and brush it off as like a intimate interlude. But I feel like something is bigger is calling them back in. It's actively calling them in. And know that don't make yourself, in some way, like they need that family love connection just as much as you do, but don't, so be humble to them about that. Welcome them to express those feelings that they're having a hard time expressing, but also at the same time is, don't be a doormat, because if you're a doormat, then you'll lose respect from them and any negotiating opportunity you have in building this relationship back up. So yeah, there's a breakdown intellectually between your minds, the way your minds work, but I feel like there is a good outcome. Then we have the Queen of Stars. She's the illuminator. She's a Sag, a Leo, or an Aries. Secondary transits in water, Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio. So I feel as though whatever your sign is, you could very well be setting the precedent of this energy. I feel like you, in some way, there's going to be I have to say this, and I'm sorry to tell you guys this, there's going to be another energy involved in this, like a third person. Either they're going to be representative of your competition, or they're going to be like a representative of some things that you want to be like, that you haven't grown into yet. And in some way, you're going to feel for a time, and this is like a channeled message, you're going to feel for a time really intimidated by her energy. But then at some point, and the sooner the better, you can figure it out. And you have to really think it through authentically. Like, you can't just say, Varush says so, so it's this way. You have to really think it through. When you realize that you're this woman, and that all these women or men around you that are representative of something he can be with that's better than you, and that's probably tied into the reason why you rejected him in the first place. That's when you step into the energy of yourself, of you're being the Queen of Stars, you're being the Queen of Wands, and you and him are meant to be in union. You and him are meant to be soulmates. So realizing that you're the star, you're the person who is bringing in all this. And when you confront, because this isn't all one-sided, so when you confront why you rejected him in the first place, or her in the first place, then and concurrently, and you give him space to realize why he's shutting down instead of opening up to someone who wants to be with him, then in some way you'll forget your worry or your concern or your anxiety of there's better women out there for him. And you realize, probably, I feel like you're going to be in his embrace and her embrace. You're going to be together, and you're going to come to realize, like, wow, I've been this woman all along, especially in their eyes. On the bottom, we have the High Priestess. And so what this represents is that this is insight and intuition about which direction you're going. This is about you taking control over your relationship and welcoming that person in and confronting all the little pieces, being really adult about it, confronting the little pieces that aren't working. Both people have to work through some self-esteem stuff. He has to work through his self-esteem around his emotions. You probably have some degree of something to do with worthiness or being that right person, for him. There's also a little bit of issue to do with confronting the misunderstanding or miscommunication that was the cause of the reason that was caused by the self-consciousness pieces, probably from both of you, and welcoming in a reunion. So I hope that this brings you two back together. I hope you guys like this special presentation. I know I haven't been posting too much, but we'll see way more content this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.